think the cloak of invincibility from the Buffalo Bills got taken back a little bit. I don't think they're that big, bad machine. Belichick, Mac Jones, you get them with a real offensive coordinator. You never know what they'll be able to do. Listen, I think it's Miami's division. Honestly, if Tua can play, Mike McDaniel in the lab with his guitar at the parties, walking around with his Yeezys, having a good time, I think they can do some things. And if they get any semblance of defense, and they got a new defensive coordinator on the way, any semblance of defense, they're going to be pretty good. And again, I don't think people are that scared of Buffalo anymore. I think they've figured him out. I think Josh Allen took a big step back.
But what about the Tua situation? What can you tell us? We know he suffered those concussions. There was talks of maybe he might retire. We don't really have an update, but that's just a huge question mark, as well as what the offensive line and the running back position for the Dolphins. What are their needs aside from quarterback as well?
I think the biggest glaring weakness, disappointment for the Dolphins last year was their secondary. I mean, they were so good defensively a couple of years ago, 10 picks, Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, but they were hurt. Jones missed the whole year. Howard was dealing with a bum ankle all year. I think that needs to get better. I think the tight end situation needs to improve for them. Gesicki, for some reason, has fallen out of favor in Miami. I think they found their running game, with Jeff Wilson and Mozart. They found it where it's serviceable. But the big question is going to be Tua and that offensive line. I mean, I think the Dolphins, they're saying all the right things. He's our guy. He's our quarterback. But the question is, they need to get themselves a backup quarterback who is going to have to play 4 to 5 games a year for sure. And on this very program, Jason La Canfora brought up the name Jimmy Garoppolo. Listen, there's that Mike McDaniel connection. The Dolphins are in a weird position where they're going to have to pay almost starter money for a backup quarterback, because it's not a matter of if Tua is hurt. Tua will get hurt. I mean, I know he's taking judo to know how to fall and everything. I've never heard that before. But I think it's a situation where they need a backup quarterback that they know is going to have to play 3 to 5 games every year.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love the Jimmy G option, and I'd be happy for Jimmy G, walking into that stacked Dolphins roster. The one thing about the running back position with the Dolphins is they don't have a running back under contract for the 2023 upcoming season. So they do have to figure out, are they going to re-sign Mostert? What are they going to do? Jeff Wilson, he's up as well. So that'll be interesting for the Dolphins. But I like the Jimmy G look. That could be good. And maybe, it's almost like a run or quarterback by committee, where that once you suffer a few concussions, like, it's going to keep happening. Like, there's no way he's going to be reliable and available all the time. But someone like Jimmy G, who you can just plug in there, he's a professional, a veteran, he's
That's
played
the
at
key.
a very
That's
high
the key.
level.
That accepts the role. Now, granted, you're going to have to pay him more than a backup. You're going to have to pay him almost starter money. But the ownership here in Miami, they're not afraid to spend the money. So it could be a good fit.
Let's go to the AFC North, because this one is interesting. Bengals plus 135, Ravens plus 220, Browns plus 410, and the Steelers at plus 550. Now, of course, we know Joe Burrow and the Bengals, I fully expect them to keep building off what they've been doing. Maybe they can finally fix their offensive line. We don't know if Lamar is going to be in Baltimore. So that is interesting that they are the second favorite. And then are we going to see something from Deshaun Watson and the Browns? I mean, I don't think we can count them out. I'm thinking the Browns at plus 410 could really give you some value there.
I know the Steelers were like kind of our
Kenny
sleeper
Pickett
team trying to
season
get in.
to win the division? Right? No, I don't
Year
think
two,
plus
make a
550
jump?
is enough. That big
No, I'm not.
to be
I'm
better
not.
than Joe Burrow?
I do like the overall look of like these two. Like so me personally, I'm ruling out the Ravens. I'm just taking the Ravens out. Whether or not Lamar is there or not, I'm just eliminating them. And it's a good franchise. They historically are always competitive. But I just think this Lamar thing and then the stuff with Eric DaCosta and was it Bateman, some of the receivers on social media, this thing just feels like it's teetering a little bit and could be messy this year. So I would, and there's not a ton of value on the Bengals, but yes, I would look at either the Browns or the Steelers. Not saying I'm pulling the trigger on the Steelers today at plus 550 to win the division, but some interesting value on the board there as well.
And maybe the Steelers get off to a slower start, but then really take off, and you could find a point in the season early where you can get better than plus 550. But yeah, the Ravens would not be a consideration, and we would never suggest to bet the Bengals at plus 135 to win the division. That's
you want to throw them into like a divisional parlay that we do sometimes? Like, sure, that could be fun. But you know what? It's also funny, like last year, right? The Colts were like the team, the favorite that to win the AFC South, along with the Titans. But it seemed like we were all going to fade the Titans, and then the Colts, as a co-favorite, just absolutely tanked, like fell apart, and were never even in the mix. So, yeah, we talk about all the time whether it's worst to first or some divisional winners that come out of last place from the year before, but definitely an opportunity to look for some value in some of these divisions.
I'm such a degenerate because once you said divisional parlay, I'm like, oh, great idea. But then I'm like, okay, do we need to pump the brakes? It is March 6th. Like, I
was just saying, maybe not today.
Time to talk. Yeah. I'm already like, okay, I like this one. I like this one. No, Aaron, just take a step back. No need to be all in on a divisional parlay on March 6th. But here we are. So let's talk about
to do. Yeah.
It is. The Lions are favorites to put their 32-year division title drought to an end this upcoming season. You heard me correctly. That's what it is. And really, it shouldn't surprise us if we look at the way the Lions finished the season and you take a look at that division. I mean, unless Aaron Rodgers and the Packers have some type of bounce back season, it should be the Lions as the favorite, J-Rod.
Well, I think what we learned was if the Minnesota Vikings can do it, anybody can do it, right? I mean, listen, the Lions have a lot of heart. They play a lot of tough football. But to me, I don't think that I would count out Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Yeah. But I need to see it first. And I think Green Bay might actually be a great little, value pick to win that division.
I'm with you. So I thought about this. Is part of it the reason that we're getting? So let me just go through the odds here. Lions plus 145, Packers 3-1, Vikings 3-1, and then the Bears plus 450. Is part of the reason, that you're getting a little value on the Packers because we don't know where Aaron Rodgers is going, and we saw a little bit of a setback last season. If he makes an announcement that he's staying in Green Bay, do you think those odds get shorter? But also, he's 39 years old. So yeah. We all know the history of the resume, but Father Time is not on his side.
I've always said, I remember when we were talking about the Lions and they did the hard knock and they said, listen, Jared Goff is going to have a good season, borderline great season in Detroit because they finally figured out a way to get him to succeed. And a lot of people kind of laughed at that, and it worked. They changed the way they ran their offense to put Jared Goff in a position to succeed. Now, the question is, the NFL is a copycat league. So now we've seen this success for Jared Goff. Can he do it again? Look how far south he ended up, after that Super Bowl season in L.A. He was out of L.A. not too shortly thereafter. Teams, defensive coordinators, they figure stuff out, and they figure stuff out quick. So I need to see it first. So if Rodgers ends up staying in Green Bay, definitely those things will get shorted. And you never know what the Bears do. Listen, if the Bears go out and get a haul and all of a sudden Justin Fields is okay, they might be a little bit of a sleeper too. I think it's wide open. And oh, by the way, more slander on the Vikings, the defending champions. Nobody's even talking about them.